Okay, Kathy, it's fantastic to have you on the show. I've really looked forward to our discussion because I know that you work with VAs, and I've I know from so many of the clients I work with, it's such a key part of how they scale their business. I want to start off altogether by just asking you if you could tell us just a little bit about your business. What do you do?
Okay. Well, thank you, Danny, anyhow, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So, I'm a professional organizer and a personal stylist. And what I do is I help my clients go from overwhelmed, indecisive, and kind of stuck in the muck of their stuff to abundance and flow and ease and joy. And they have systems to support them in the background of their business. So, that's my job, is to actually help them create the system so they can thrive and actually focus on why they started their business. Because what I find is a lot of entrepreneurs will get into business and then they'll lose their mojo, and because they get so stuck in all the stuff and complicated things it takes to run a business, that oftentimes they forget why they even started and they lose their juice. So what I know to be true, because I've been doing this for 20 years, I'm a board certified professional organizer. What I've learned is that if you have systems under your business supporting you that are kind of running in the background, working for you as opposed to against you, then you can really thrive, make more money, and enjoy having your business.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I like the whole topic of getting organized because I'm passionate about creating partnerships between businesses. And I think my experience, a big part of partnerships is organization. Just to give you an example, I do a lot of product launches with partners, so they might support a webinar that I'm running in October, and they might be supporting a summit that someone else is running in November. And there's just a lot of things that you have to check off to make sure that that's actually going to go ahead. You know, that they've got the dates in their diary, they've got the assets they need, they haven't forgotten, and their team knows about it, etc. So I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about, from your experience, the role that being organized plays in partnerships.
Oh my gosh, it's huge, because if you're not organized and you drop the ball, you've lost your face, you've lost your level of professionalism. And people want to be able to count on you to mail at the right time, have a funnel that actually works, have links that you can click and they'll actually take you to where you're supposed to go. It's so very important. And as a solopreneur, if I don't have my partners who are my VAs behind me helping me implement all this stuff, it doesn't happen, because I am not necessarily, I'm not a coder. I'm not a website developer. I don't do any of that. And at the beginning of my career, 20 years ago, I tried to do everything because I thought, oh, I launched on $49 and I thought I can't afford to have someone help me. I have to do it all on my own. Well, that was like silly. So I spent the first 2 years of my business floundering, trying to do all the stuff that I didn't know how to do, which was just crazy in the making. And eventually I found my first VA. And what I love about my VAs, I've had three over the years, and I have two still full time working for me, is that they're their own business owner, right? So it is a partnership. They are my partner in crime, so to speak. And without them, I couldn't do the funnels, I couldn't do the launches, I couldn't stay linear because I'm a little bit ADD, ADHD myself. So I need all the help I can get.
Makes two of us. It makes two of us, and I think I think you've come across something really. You've made a point about something I think is so important, which is that very often us as business owners, we're very good at either being the captain of the ship, or about delivering what we're very good at. But there's a lot of things that happen in the background that are crucial, and we're not necessarily very good at those things. And you don't have to be good at those things, but because so many business owners try and do everything, they do try and do those things themselves, and it doesn't work out very well.
No, no. I mean, the first book that I wrote in 2009 was How to Master Your Muck. Get organized, add space to your life, live your purpose. And I call, the beginning entrepreneurs, oftentimes they're stuck in the muck of their stuff. They're stuck, they're unable to move forward because they're not calling on help because, well, there's a bunch of reasons. They might not know what kind of help they need. They don't feel like they have money to hire help. But one of the chapters in the book is masters hire masters. And I don't think, Danny, that you will see any successful entrepreneur that doesn't have partners in crime and doesn't have people to learn from and to help them move forward, because we all have coaches. Like, the most successful people will have coaches, we will have partners, we will have people to do things that we don't know how to do, or that we shouldn't be doing, that's below our pay grade. Which I talk to my clients all the time about, why are you doing this task that's way below your pay grade? This should be jobbed out to a partner that thrives on this kind of stuff, that loves doing this kind of stuff, that you should not be doing this. So I talk a lot about delegating, what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. And then my most recent client I'm working with is a really high-end real estate attorney, a real estate agent. And she's doing all this stuff that really, it's busyness, right? It's busy tasks. So we created a job description for what she shouldn't be doing and put that into a description for someone that should be doing that kind of stuff. And boom, last week she hired an assistant. And now she has someone to do those tasks, that so she can focus on her expertise, which is selling and meeting clients and cold calling. She's so good at it. But she was not able to do that before she had this other person to take away all the what I call busyness in the business.
So on the subject of busyness, how did you get started with bringing team members in who focused on the busyness?
How did I get started?
Yeah, how did you get started? What was
Oh,
your...
well, I ended up, struggling for 2 years. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I need to hire someone that knows how to do this. So I hired my first VA, and she's still with me. 18 years later, I still have the same VA. And she would put out my newsletters. She would build my landing pages. She would build my funnels. She was the tech girl supreme who knew how to do all the stuff that I didn't know how to do. Like, I'm a content provider, I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher, but I'm not a coder. Right. So she was fantastic. So I hired her at the very beginning, 18 years ago. And what happened, ironically, was for 3 years, I didn't use her because she's so quick and so speedy that I didn't know what to do with her. So I kind of let her go. And then I brought her back in once I figured out what she could be doing for me. And because she had automated so many things that I didn't need her, right? She took herself out of the job. But then I started growing and I needed more and I needed more. So I brought her back in. Then I hired another VA to actually kind of macro over the whole aspect of my technical part of my business. And so she was kind of like the ringleader, who would just supervise and make sure that everything was going on. Then I had my third VA to support her. So, what I love about VAs is that they're business owners. I mean, the VAs I hire are business owners. So therefore, they're not like a subordinate. They are a partner for me. They help keep me on track and on task. And they're really good at it because that's what they do. That's their zone of genius, right? It's not my zone of genius. I mean, my zone of genius is to know what systems need to be in place and help people put them in place, and then have technical people do all the other stuff.
Yes, I think you've raised something which I think our audience will need to hear clearly. I think that so many people when they hire VAs, they do think of the VA as a sort of, let me just bring someone in, I can just throw all these things, these tasks in their direction, they'll take it away from me. And you're not talking about it. You're talking about a whole different level of working with, So let's hear a bit more about how do you think of a VA as a partner as opposed to a subordinate?
Well, they're not my subordinate at all because they
Right.
know things. They know what to do, what I don't know how to do. So
Yeah.
I am in total respect and awe for them to be able to like boom, boom, put together things that I need. We use Trello, so we
Mm.
keep our projects managed that way. And we talk on WhatsApp. Some of them are different countries, two of them are in different states.
Mm.
So we have the line of communication open, and I'll say, hey, well, this just happened to me. I'm going into my big training next week, and I'm like, hey, I really need you to make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, everything that we need to do is in place. And I count on them for that. They are my foundation of my business. I mean, without them, I couldn't run my business. I couldn't I don't want to anyhow. I mean, I know enough to make myself dangerous, but do I want to do that? No, that's not my zone of genius. I hope that answered your question.
Totally, totally. But it sounds like also when you're treating a VA as a partner, um, they are you're basically getting them to step up, and I think it means that they're not just doing things you give them to do, but you're empowering them, and you're almost saying to them, "Listen," almost sometimes they're managing you, like they're in a sense that there are
Yeah.
things that they are saying, "Look, no, no, no." They're being proactive and saying, "What what do you need to do?" Actually, the way maybe the way you're going about this at the moment, it doesn't work. Let's work with you to design a system that works better. Right.
That's so very true. I mean, it just happened to me in Trello last week. Last week, I'm telling my number one, I'm like, I think I really got way too over the top here. Please rein it in and get the Trello cards so that they're organized and so that they make sense to me. Because as a creator, I create.
Yeah.
And sometimes I over create, so then they have to bring it back down into a more manageable form. I mean, that's what happens when you have ADD. You kind of jump from branch to branch. I talk about that a lot. Most entrepreneurs are creative, artistic, because of the internet and high speed everything. I think a lot of us are ADD, even ADHD, because we're just jumping around like this, right? This is what
Right.
we're doing. We're creating.
Totally.
You need someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you needed someone to be linear and to get you in line and put you back into the program of where you're supposed to be going. And I just did that last week with my number one. I'm like, okay, I think I went crazy in Trello. Can you please like bring it back down a little bit?
So what's the process, right? We're talking about thinking, reimagining your VA so they're a partner. What's the process I would go through? Like if I'm actually thinking of hiring a VA,
Mm.
how should I be thinking about their role and how we work together?
Ah, okay. Well, I do this all the time for my clients. So it all starts with time management, and it all starts with the life of Danny. What does Danny do every week, every day? What are his repetitive tasks? What are Danny's skill? What should Danny not be doing? What is way below his hourly rate?
Mhm.
And all of those tasks that are below your hourly rate should be jobbed out and delegated. Then you have a job description, right? And then you're hiring someone to come in to fill that need. And most importantly, you're empowering them to take the reins on all that stuff and figure out the best way, because that's their zone of excellence, right? So it's up to them to figure out the best way to do things and the best way to support you. I think that's where we fall apart a lot when people hire VAs. They consider them, oh, they're just taskmasters. I'll just delegate that to them. And they don't really empower them to make it better,
Mm.
right? Or to see, because here's the thing, we can't see what we can't see. And when you bring someone in to support you in the background of your business, they see a lot of things that you do not,
Correct.
because it's the forest to the trees thing. And if you give them enough reign, you give them enough freedom to tell you what they see and how it could be better and bring it forward to you, then you can grow. You can grow exponentially actually with their help.
Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, what's the? I imagine there's some kind of review process you have with VA to make sure that continues to happen. So what's you obviously you need to hire somebody. You describe that whole process, and you describe the way they're playing this proactive role. How do you on an ongoing basis? How do you maintain that? How do you review things with them?
Well, first impressions are critical.
Mm.
So take for instance this new person who's joining my client. We're the very first meeting, we're going to be solid on what's expected and what we need and how it happens. So you have to make sure that they understand exactly what their role is within your organization. And then first impressions are so critical. I know I said that twice, but it's very, very important that at the very beginning of the relationship, expectations are made and
Mm.
then and the expectations can be met. So there needs to be an understanding. This is what's necessary. Is this something you can do? How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And do you know why you're doing it? I think that's important. They have to have the how, what, where, when, and why. When they understand the why, they're better able to support you. If
Mm.
if you just throw them a bunch of stuff and they don't know how they fit in to the big scene and the big scenario of the business, then they're less empowered.
Yeah.
But if they're in the whole picture and they get it and they're game and they understand, then at the very beginning you just need to monitor that the understanding is clear. And I think back on my very first VA 18 years ago, and we had a bit of a communication issue. Number one, she's in India, and the communication was not quite there. So we spent like the first year kind of figuring out, how do we speak with each other? Do you understand what this is? How is this going to flow? And I'm telling you what, once I understood the best way to communicate with her, which is giving video tutorials and video scenarios of what I needed. She's like, Flynn, man, I love it because she works while I sleep. I'll give her an assignment and I'll wake up and it's done. It's perfect. I love it.
I think what something that I think you're really bringing to me is the fact that the investing in this partnership with your VA, it means that although you're bringing them in to save you time, at the very beginning of that relationship, you actually have to prepare for the fact that it's going to take up more of your time. Obviously, it's an investment, right? But you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm drowning. I want to bring in someone to take it all off me. But it sounds like actually probably for the first few weeks of working together, it's actually a lot of your time you actually have to invest to begin with, right?
Yes, and that's what stops entrepreneurs from doing it. It's the
Mhm.
money investment and it's the time investment. I don't have time to hire somebody. Well, guess what? If you're saying that, you don't have time not to hire somebody. It's the same exact thing with getting organized.
Yeah.
My clients will say, I don't have time to get organized. Well, do you realize that for every hour you get organized, you save 4 later? And that's being conservative. 1 to 4 is the payoff. I would say with the VA, it's probably 1 to 10. I
Yeah,
mean, at this point,
I would say those 2 or 3 weeks you spend working with them is going to save you God knows how many hours in terms of having to hire someone else again and so on.
right. And you know what's really cool is I had another VA who was amazing and she transitioned out. Someone stole her as a full-timer. But she spent a month putting together the systems in Trello that needed to be followed. She spent a month doing the SOP. And an SOP, as you know, is very important. And you have to have that standard operating procedure in place so that you can actually hire someone. But guess what? If you hire the right person, they can actually do it for you.
Yeah.
Right? This is great.
Yeah. That's what this is great. Um, so I'm interested to hear any if you can share any stories. Have you had any sort of VA hires that have gone wrong and like what happened? What did you learn from it?
You mean wrong, wrong,
Yeah, any hires that have kind of not quite gone to plan, and I'm interested to hear why that happened.
I have been blessed that I didn't have that. However, as I said at the beginning of my first VA, we had a communication challenge.
Yeah.
And there's certain cultures that don't like to say that they don't know, they don't know.
Mm.
This was a situation it's a societal thing. You don't say that you don't know. You just kind of act like you know it.
Yeah, and
So once
I imagine sometimes there's also a societal thing. There's sometimes a societal issue where if you're asking them to step up, they're not used to that. So they're very used to being told what to do. And if you say to them, no, no, I need you to tell me what to do, they're not used to. They're like, I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah, you have to empower them. I mean, I said, if you don't know, please tell me you don't know what I'm talking about. I'll
Yeah,
make it more clear. And now she will always say, I don't quite understand that. Explain that a little bit more.
yeah,
And it's a brilliant thing. I mean, like I say, I've had her, well, 18 years minus the 3 years that I took off because I didn't know what to do with her. So I've had her 15 years, and now it's just brilliant. And then my other two, they already know what they're doing, and so it's all kind of delegated out. Everybody has their own little thing that they do for me, and they all play well together, and it's just perfect because I don't want to, it's not my job to post my newsletter. It is my job to write my newsletter. It is my job to write my social copy, but it's not my job to post all that stuff and spend the time scheduling it. It's just crazy. Why would I do that?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So what I'm really hearing from you is that if you're investing in the hiring process up front, once in the getting the job description right and so on, and then once they come on board, you invest a lot of time in onboarding them.
Mhm.
The likelihood of it not working out is slim. Not non-existent, but slim.
Yeah, and it all starts with, Danny, back to what do you need to delegate? Like, be really perfectly clear on what you want to get off your back, and be perfectly clear on what does that mean? Like, okay, so I don't want to do my weekly newsletter anymore. I'm going to write it, but I don't want to do anything else. So what does that mean? That means I need to have somebody who knows how to do graphics, who knows how to do a template, who knows how to do scheduling, who knows how to put all the, so you have to be really micro on what you're jobbing out and why and when it should happen and how it should happen and what is going to be used to make it happen, right? So you have to have all that. It's called the standard operating procedure. You have to have that SOP drilled down so that they can support you. Because
Yeah,
if there's a gray area, oftentimes they don't want to say, I don't know what that means, or what,
yeah,
right? Or how was that design supposed to be, right? So you do, but once the investments, once you invest your time, then man, it's like running like clockwork. I mean, my
yeah.
branding's there, my logo's there, everything's there.
And I think just for our listeners, what I just want to clarify, an SOP is a standard operating procedure. It's a little bit like having GPS, right? There might be a complicated route to get from one place to another, and you're never going to remember that route. And you need to have that kind of GPS that you can refer back to again and again and again that tells you step by step by step, this is what I need to do to get from here to get from here to get to there. I think the other thing I would just like to just share from personal experience, what I found very helpful for working with a VA who I'm getting them to step up is I sort of have a three steps that I use. In the first, when I start working with someone, initially I want to show them how it's done. And once I've shown them how it's done, the next stage is I actually want them to do it with me, and I want to do it with me quite a few times, so that
Mhm.
they can really, I can really kind of see that they're getting it. And then
Mhm.
once you've done it quite a few times and it feels like they're comfortable with it, then get them to start doing it themselves, and then watch, see how that's going to the point where they can then, if you like, fly solo, do it themselves. But what we're really talking about, both of us, is just being thorough. uh, what just to end the discussion, I'd love to know, like, if our listeners are thinking of, wanting to kind of create this kind of partnership with a VA. So, I want to get started. Like, where where should you where should I go? What should I think about if I'm just doing this for the first time?
Well, again, you need to kind of get clear with what are you doing that's below your pay grade, and what jobs should you be jobbing out. Make a list of all the stuff that you should not be doing, right? That's just, just menial stuff for you. That's not what you do to make your money, right?
Right.
So have a clear list of that, and then figure out what kind of person, like what are the traits of that person that will support you. Like for me, it's like extreme tech, like coding and that kind of thing, and being on schedule and being on task. So once you know what you need to have done, and you write the job description, and I would say, even say, I need someone who knows how to follow through. I need someone who's proactive. Whatever it is that you feel that you need, I need someone to actually put this in writing once they learn how to do it, right? Because I don't want to do that either. So then what happens is, magically that person will manifest. They'll show up in your life. It happens every time I do this with clients. That person will walk into the role. They'll kind of like show up, and there they are. Oh, wow, what do you know? That person does all that. It's amazing. But if you don't know, if you don't have that list, you're just going to hire some random VA person, and you aren't going to know if they're really who you need. You can't just hire a VA. You have to first set aside what you want them to do and how you want them to do it and why you want them to do it and what type of person do you want to hang out. And you have to have someone that you really respect. The reason that I love hiring VAs is subcontractors, right? Because it's their business. I love hiring other entrepreneurs to do what I can't do. Then they are a partner, right? Then they are a partner because they're their own company. And another thing about it that I love is you can fire them. So, they're their own company. It's not like they're an employee of your company. They're an ally back to the partner in business with you. And if the partnership fails, it's fine. You can move on. But preferably, like in my business, my partnerships have been around forever. They're just there with me, helping me as a partner in my business to grow my business.
So how can I use it? How can our listeners find out more about you? I think that there's so many of our listeners who uh, need to be doing this.
Oh, okay. So my website is organizedandenergized.com. I have a free productivity checklist, and I think this falls right in line with what we're talking about. What I did was I gave my 6 favorite hacks that I use to stay productive, and I put it all in a little checklist. And I'd love you to download it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. But what I know is this: what my guess my motivation is: do one of them. Look at that checklist, choose one, do it, and you will see your productivity soar. I'm not asking you to do all 6. Choose the one that resonates with you, implement it into your business, and I guarantee that you'll have more time and you'll make more money. So that's called the Ultimate Productivity Checklist. And then also, if you're interested in having one simple system to support you in the background of your business, jump into my training next Tuesday, which is September 16th at noon Pacific. Jump into that, and I'm going to show you one tool you can use to support the whole underlying system of your business.
That's fantastic, Kathi. Thank you so much for being on our show today. I love what you're doing, and I think so many of our listeners could learn from you.
We all need it. Organizing is an ongoing process. I am not perfect by any means. I mean, you have to spend time to get organized, but then it's the 4-to-1 or the 10-to-1 payoff. My client, Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, he said for every hour he spends in productivity, he saves 10 hours later. So, preparation saves 10 hours. So, it takes time, but you got to take time to make time, and you got to take time to make money as well.
That's a lovely quote. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Thank
lovely
you.
to speak to you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.